This is at the cemetery. Is it going? The cemetery in Savannah where our three children were buried. I had the RH factor problem, which was solved about a year. That's Chuck running around. Um, about the year after the last one was born, and the three that died, I had a couple of miscarriages too. But these three children were born. One of them was a pretty big boy. He weighed 9.5 pounds, 8.5 pounds, and we named him Scott. And I don't remember why, but we did. Now this is back on our porch, and he's going somewhere, school, I guess. I don't know where he's going, but anyway, we moved the children, the babies, up to North Carolina. We had them taken up and moved them up there where Sharky and I were going to be buried. And Sharky is buried, and my ashes will be when the time comes. But anyway, we were always very open about it with Chuck, and he knew about them. And Sharky even took him to see the little boy that was so big and just a normal-looking little baby. But one of them, the doctor tried to transfuse the blood. He took all of his blood out and put new blood in, but that just didn't work. And so those three really were actually children that were born. And they're buried on the lot in Highlands. Now we are on our street in Savannah. And I think we had moved, yes, I think it was 306, I'm not sure, Willow Road. And it was in Windsor Forest, and it was directly across the street from the school where I was going to teach, and Chuck was going there already. And a boy named David Kelly lived next door in that house. Chuck didn't really like him much. I mean, he didn't play with him very much, but some. But that's our fine mailbox that the local boys would love to go around and hit the mailboxes at night with a long rod. And I don't know if they did ours more than once, but Sharky was very upset about it, but it got fixed. Now we're at Major League Baseball, I think. Yes. Chuck belonged to a group named I've forgotten the name of it, but he would go there to see the teams play. Savannah was then a farm team, and Chuck loved to go, and Sharky let him. I didn't really think it was a good idea, but he let him go, and I said okay. But he would be dropped off at that stadium, and a strange man would meet him and take him in, and he loved it. And they would get prizes sometimes, and these men were members of I think it was the Lions Club that did it. But anyway, they would draw numbers and give them a prize, and it was usually something pertaining to baseball, which Chuck played a lot. And he went to these games. The stadium was not far from our house, and Sharky would run over there and pick him up after the game. You could tell by the noise when the game was over. And he was always right out there where he was supposed to be, so I guess it was okay. But he did love baseball, and I think he got that dog lightning from somebody at baseball, but I'm not sure. Anyway, he had a good time with baseball. And he would have to get a new glove every now and then, and Chuck had a way to season it. He thought you couldn't play with it if you didn't season it. And so he would rub it with some kind of oil, I think, every night, and bend it back and forth and back and forth. And then when he thought it was right, he threw his old one away and played with the new one. But after games, we would go to a place named, well, I've forgotten the name of it, but it was an ice cream place. And we would go there after his games. And if his team had won, it was a lot better than if they had lost. Other people went with us always, some of his friends and ball playing buddies. But that was a very big thing, and he always looked forward to the baseball games. Since we had lived downtown near the baseball field, he was on a team that met downtown. So every afternoon after school got out, I had to drive him down. Sharkey was still at Union Camp then. And I would drive Chuck down there to practice. And he would practice with the team. And I did that. And that's at the time that we knew Chuck was allergic to bees. And the doctor in Clemson had made a serum to give him out of the bee extract from up here in Clemson because it needed to be from where we knew that he was allergic. And he took 100 shots. And then after that, he carried a little vial around his neck with a needle in it, and I guess enough of the stuff. He was supposed to give himself a quick shot if he got stung by anything, because the doctor said that he would probably die if he didn't. Well, when we found out that he was hanging that thing up on the fence at a pool that he went to, we decided we better see about that. So we did, but nothing came of it. But then when he was in the Navy, they sent him to Portsmouth for a week for a long study of the bee stings. And they did attach a needle that was put under his pants leg against his body, and it was full of that stuff. And that was supposed to protect him. But when he went to sea, he didn't have to wear it. And he went to sea a lot. But he didn't have to wear it at sea. And as far as I know, he was always allergic to bees. I guess he was, but none ever stung him after that first episode, which was at Clemson. We were sitting out in the yard, and he was playing with his friends, and the next door neighbor was a nurse, and he was pulling off the wings of these bees, and I said, Chuck, one of those is going to sting you. But he kept on doing it. So one did sting him on his toe, and he just, in a minute, fell over in a dead faint. And the nurse that was with me ran in her house and got some Benadryl, I think, from her refrigerator and gave him a shot. And he woke back up, but he was like in a daze. And so, of course, we went to the doctor, and that's when it all started. But he looked terrible for about a week. And somebody evidently reported us to the authorities that we were beating a child because he looked so bad. Because a woman came from the health department and wanted to meet us, and we didn't understand. But anyway, in the end, she said she believed what we told her because we told her about him. He looked terrible. His eyes were swollen, his face was swollen, and the bee had stung him on his toe. But anyway, that's the story of the bee stings, which I suppose got over after he was grown, but he may have still had it always. I don't know. Never got stung again.
Grammy, I got a quick question related to this video. You mentioned about the baby Scott. The other two were Laura and Knox, right?
Right. Their little gravestones are in North Carolina on our lot. Scott was the one that was so big. He looked a lot like Chuck had as a baby. And Sharky took him to see him, that baby. He did not take him to see the other two. But he was 6 years old when that little boy, Scott, was born and lived 1 hour in transfusions. But